destroy you. He said, you better start showing some respect. And he goes, I'm going to fucking destroy you.
Dana, what would you have done if they...
My ear probably would have got knocked right off. Do we need this, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? All right. What's up? How are you guys?
How's the year?
It is what it is. I'm here.
You tired of hearing about it?
I'm done talking about it. It's going to be forever. This is what I got to live with for the rest of my life.
Can you talk about the main event on Saturday night? You and I talked about it about a week and a half ago. This is a legit super fight. Sometimes it appears these guys aren't getting the respect they deserve.
I don't feel that way. I see people talking, saying Dana's crazy, this isn't a super fight and stuff like that. It is a super fight, and there's a lot of people that are definitely pumped for this fight. I think that fight's getting the respect it deserves. You got these light heavyweights, the heavyweights, and people are dying to see Frankie and Jose.
That was a little awkward there with the big boys. Are you standing in the middle?
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I didn't know that they had some words with each other, and Silva kept pushing up against him and getting in his face closer and closer. So I tried to stop him, and he says, and Silva said, "You better start respecting me." And then he said, "I'm gonna effing destroy you."
You have that Super Bowl feeling now, Dana? I mean, you're on the heels of the Super Bowl, you do this. Is it a different feel for this than other events?
Yeah, I love this card. It's a big card. It's a great card. The fights are very good fights and fights that mean something. So, yeah, I love this card. Right down from the little guys all the way up to the main event.
Will you say now for sure that if Overeem does win on Saturday, that he will fight for the belt now?
Yeah, if he wins, he'll get a title shot.
Dana, we got some fun with some of the guys asking some questions because of Super Bowl weekend. Jose said he'd be a field goal kicker because he kicked 43 yards before. Frankie says he'd like to be a running back or better yet a coach. Rashad said he'd be a tailback. Talk about some of these guys. How would they fare on the football field?
Probably not too good. Probably not too good. It's okay to dream, though. Hey, maybe Aldo could probably kick a field goal. I do believe that. I believe that. Tailbacks and all this other stuff now.
You say that a lot about Chris Cyborg and Ronda Rousey, and you said the women's division is 135 pounds. Cyborg says she'd come down to 140. Would you ever entertain that?
It's not a title fight. Let's say if that's what she's willing to do is go to 140. Let Ronda defend her title a few times and see if Ronda wants to go to 140. If I know Ronda, she probably would anyway, so let's see what happens. But if she wants to fight for a title, have a title fight, she's got to go to 135 pounds. Fight at 140 would be a fan fight because everybody wants to see it, but it's not one of those fights that makes sense. But yeah, I'm sure it could be.
Absolutely close the door.
Absolutely have to do. Listen, Cyborg either wants to come in and fight for the title and get a big payday and fight, the champion, or she doesn't.
You said Alistair will get a title shot at heavyweight. What about Lil Nog and Rashad Evans? How far away are they from a potential 205 title shot?
Yeah, obviously, I think Rashad already fought him. We'll figure out there. There's some things that are going to happen this weekend. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to talk about if this guy wins, we'll do that. I hate doing that anyway, but we've got some plans and things that we're talking about right now. We'll see how this weekend shakes out.
Hey, is Cyborg under contract with you right now, or is her?
She is, yeah.
Do you owe her fights? I mean, I know there is no 145 division, but do you owe her fights, and are you obligated to get her something?
We're figuring that out right now. We're going to figure out how to, as we brought the Strikeforce people into the UFC, we're finding a place for them. We created a 135-pound division, and the women that are at 145, we got to figure out.
So if she can't get to 135, you got to put together a 145 fight for her?
Or let her go.
Have you finalized who's coming over from Strikeforce as of now?
Have we no. I mean, I couldn't crack it off right here anyway. I mean, I'd have to have a list. I think you guys know that we're looking. What I really want to do is, I'm happy that this is finally done and these guys are coming to the UFC. They went through a lot of crap over there for over the last year, and I'm just happy they're here.
How close is Josh Barnett? How close are you to signing Josh Barnett?
Josh? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not involved in it at all.
Yeah.
Joe Silva's doing it, so. From what I hear, we're close. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we both want to be in business, so we'll see what happens.
The cards, the New Year's card, the 4th of July card, the Super Bowl card, all the terrific cards. This one's stacked, again, you kind of answered that. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, well, we've been pretty lucky so far this year. We've had a good run. No injuries. The injuries that have happened have been in the prelims. You know, last year we hit the worst streak you could ever hit, with main events and co-main events falling out left and right. It was a really rough year on us. We made it through it, and this year started off fantastic. I mean, we're firing on every cylinder right now. TV, you know, the reality, everything that we're doing right now is working out great. So
You've always tried to make the Super Bowl card kind of a special card, and again, you have.
People, you know, that have never been to Vegas for the Super Bowl don't realize how awesome it is here. It's such a great weekend. So many people come in town for the game. There's parties everywhere. There's tons of people in town, and it's always a great weekend. It's one of my favorites.
What's your relationship like with Alistair? I know that after he was suspended, he came to you, manned up, and came and talked to you. What's your guys' relationship like?
Alistair, I got a great relationship with him. You know, that situation happened, and he couldn't have been more of a man about it. You know, and it wasn't like he just showed up or whatever. He sat down in the office and waited for me for 45 minutes until I was done. Came up, talked. I mean, just very stand up. So we're cool.
Have you had a chance to talk to Randy Couture since the Bellator signing and his deal with them?
No.
And what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel a little bit betrayed by Randy?
Well, I can tell you this. Randy Couture comes off as the greatest guy in the world, Captain America. He's the furthest thing from it. And I'm happy to not be in business with him anymore. Now I don't ever have to be in business with him ever again. How's that? Does that answer it?
That pretty much sums it up.
That's going to be a surprising statement for a lot of fans, because I think
not for a lot of people that know him. It won't be. 99.9% of the people, that won't be shocking at all. That know him, people that actually really know him, not people that watch him on TV.
So on Twitter, I think people pointed out on Twitter that you said you were happy for Randy, but
no,
you're not really happy.
No, they said, how do you feel about Randy being over there? I said, I love it.
Right,
That's what I said.
I think people thought that they meant that you were happy for him, but you were just happy.
I am happy for him, and I'm happy for me.
How long did it take you to get to know him? Because you worked with him for a long time until you...
Yeah, I would say when that whole lawsuit went down, when he lied about his numbers and lied about a lot of things, went into court, and it didn't work out for him, I'd say that's when I really got to know him.
Any update on Rampage?
And when that whole thing went down, I was the guy that he was attacking. I was the guy that, he was, it's easy if you look at me, and the way that I'm in public, it's easy to say, oh, this is the guy we can attack and make me look good. Of course, everybody's going to side on Randy. When we went in that courtroom, and this guy that he's playing out to be this horrible human being, there were a lot of things that happened in there, but the nail in the coffin was, if I'm this horrible, despicable human being that he speaks about and all these things and the way that he was treated and all this stuff. When he was in town and he had just had his brand new baby, okay? Him and his wife are in town, just had a brand new baby. They're down in Las Vegas filming The Ultimate Fighter. Would you drop your brand new baby off at that guy's house to watch your brand new baby and leave him there overnight and come pick him up the next day? I would have to say, I don't know, what would you say? Anyway.
I don't think so.
What about Rampage? What happens with Rampage now?
He's not in the UFC.
Are you upset about that, or
no?
He did put on some exciting fights, and he has a huge fan following.
Pretty much just like anybody else. Well, let's put it this way. I mean, I know the answer you want from me right now. That's why you asked me the question. I mean, you're not asking me the question because you're really curious about what's going on.
I'm not trying to get you to say anything
You're not. And you want me to go fucking crazy on Rampage right now. But the reality is, Rampage wasn't very nice on his way out. He's lost 3 fights in a row, which is no different than any other guy who would lose 3, 4, 5 in a row. And the real situation is here, Rampage doesn't want to be in business with us anymore, And Rampage is going out saying stupid stuff like we lie about our pay-per-views and stuff. He can come in, any fighter who has a pay-per-view deal has audit rights. So if you really thought that you were ripped off on your pay-per-view, wouldn't you be lawyering up right now and coming in with your audit team to come in and check the books? Yeah, you would.
Did he ever inquire about that, about taking advantage of that opportunity?
Oh, he's going to come. He's going to pay some auditors to come in, and they're going to tell him you've been paid every dime you're supposed to be paid. We've been doing this stuff now for 13 years. If we weren't paying guys not only do we pay guys what they were supposed to be paid, we pay them more money than they were supposed to be paid. So everything that the guy says is complete bullshit. When you start digging so deep that you're talking about your fucking action figure deal. I had an action figure deal. Then they did a deal with the company, you know. Listen, Rampage, if you're not happy here, you go somewhere else and you work. Good luck to you. You know, I've got no beef with Rampage. I got no, you know, ill will toward him. I don't, you know, not going to hurt Rampage or anything like that. He's not happy. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere where you can be made happy.
With the statements that he has made, are you willing to still talk to him, at least consider the option?
We're not talking. We're not. I mean, I talked to his manager a few days ago, you know, and you know, he kind of told me what they're looking at and what they're doing and stuff. But good luck to him, man. And I think, to be honest with you, I think Rampage said it better himself. This is a quote from Rampage. I don't think I can compete with the best in the world anymore. I don't think I'm at that level anymore. I'll just go out and put on some entertaining fights that people want to watch.
So as far as you're concerned, close the door and Rampage coming back.
Yeah.
How's tough going with Chael and John? How's it, you know, returns on that? The numbers looking good?
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, last Tuesday we pulled the highest 18 to 34-year-old male in the history of Tough on FX.
Well, I'm curious if you're getting people telling you, oh, we're going to get Chael fatigue. You know, since he's on that show, he's on UFC tonight. He's got a fight coming up. I mean, he's fast becoming the face in a way of UFC, and just I'm curious what your thoughts are.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah, on the people who are detracted from that. You know.
People who are people are saying he's too busy.
It's too much. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he spent about a year and a half doing absolutely nothing. I'm sure he's happy to be busy again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a grown man. He'll have to make the decision on whether he's. But it's true. I'm not kidding you guys. Every day we were just talking today. There's a movie with De Niro and Stallone, and they want Chael in the movie. You know, it's like everybody wants Chael right now.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the situation of the fight between Anderson and Weidman and the idea to make this fight in Brazil?
Who told you that?
No, Ed want and
Ed.
Weidman said
Ed making fights and locations and no, yeah, no, that fight won't be in Brazil.
No.
If Weidman and him fight, that fight won't be in Brazil.
And about that rumor?
It's not. We don't have a fight scheduled in Brazil at that time.
And about that rumor, the fight between Anderson wanted to fight by Congolese.
That what?
About the rumor of Anderson wanting to fight Congolese.
Not true either. Yeah, those two aren't going to fight.
Would you consider Rashad?
Huh?
Would you consider Rashad?
I would consider Rashad.
Is that one
if Rashad won on Saturday night and wanted to go to 85, we would consider that.
Okay, is that your preference?
We're considering it.
What about Rashad and Weidman, the two options that you're considering, right? You said you had two different scenarios you were considering for Anderson's next fight. Are those the two options? That if Rashad wins and wants to go down to middleweight, he would be it, or Chris Weidman?
Yeah.
Those are the two.
Yeah.
So
Those are good.
Would you consider Rashad at a catch weight or at 205? I guess.
What's that?
Would you consider Rashad Silva at a catch weight or 205 if Rashad had difficulty?
Now, how would that make sense, my friend, to make them fight at a catch weight?
Or at 205?
It's for the title. No, Anderson Silva is the 185-pound champion. Why would Rashad move down unless it was for a title? He'd want to win the title.
But he's also said he wants to fight Anderson. He doesn't know if he can make 185.
And I guess he can't fight Anderson. I mean, if you're going to fight him, you got Chris Weidman there. And here's the thing. If a lot of people think that Chris Weidman is the #1 contender right now, if Rashad made a move from 205 down to 185, it'd be tough to say that he's not the #1 contender. But if he can't make 185 pounds, what would be the point in doing it at catchweight? It would make no sense. Other than he just wants to fight Anderson Silva.
So would you, in that scenario, but we don't know if he can make 185, he would have to start making, I guess, practice cuts to see if he can make it before you would do it.
I agree.
Dana, where do you see Luke Rockhold fitting into this mix?
We're talking about doing him and Vitor.
And is there any definite date or plan set for that yet?
Not yet. We're working on it though.
Any
But
talks with,
that's one of the ones we're looking at. Huh?
Any expansion talks, moving into new countries, anything like that? What's going on down there?
Yeah, I mean, this year we're going into. The hell are we going this year? I can't even remember. But yes, the answer is yes. We're going somewhere this year.
How's Russia? Is that
Russia? Yeah, Russia's one of them. We're working on Russia, and we're still working on our move into India. But yeah, we're going. What's really cranking right now is Brazil. Brazil is off the charts, crazy huge. You know, it's to the point now where Lorenzo is going to start spending a lot of time in Brazil. a lot of times.
Dana,
So.
what about the issue with the Sao Paulo government and that the whole financial situation there? Is that a detractor, deterrent at all? Or is it a challenge?
It's all part of doing business. I mean, every time we go into a new country, there's always challenges, and look, we still don't have New York here. And this, we've been working on this country for 13 years.
You getting closer?
Who knows? And as we get, as we get into these new territories, you're always gonna come into problems and roadblocks and obstacles. So it's all part of the deal.
So no chance that slows things down a little bit? Because I know how hot the market is, but if you're not getting the financial backing you need, is there a chance that slows things down?
Financial backing in Brazil is the least of our worries. The economy is off the charts down there. They're the 5th or 4th largest economy in the world. The sport literally is growing right now while we're speaking. It's a monster. It's unbelievable, and Lorenzo's going to be learning some Portuguese. Let me tell you that. He's going to be spending some time down there.
But it's a problem to make business with a government, not with a company. Because in São Paulo,
we've been dealing with government since the day we bought this company. It's not just here in the United States. I mean, there's so many stories that you guys don't know, from England to, all over the world where we've been, stories that never hit the media, events that almost got canceled the day before we were about to go live worldwide on pay-per-view, and things like that we handle behind the scenes that nobody even knows about. We've been dealing with government since the day we bought this company.
Are you close to do a big fight in a stadium in Brazil, or still?
Depends on the fight. The 3 places we could do a stadium fight is Canada, the United States, or Brazil. Those would be the realistic 3 places we could do it, and it would depend on the fight.
If you're saying the Anderson fight wouldn't be in Brazil, where do you think it would be?
I don't know. Yeah, might be
Why
Vegas.
wouldn't it be Brazil?
Because we're not scheduled for. We already have our schedule. It's not
When are
scheduled
you
for Brazil.
going back to Brazil?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
I had heard that you were starting out at 115 men's strawweight division. When are you looking at maybe targeting that and implementing that weight class?
Yeah, what I said was that we eventually will. As we move into Mexico and all these other Hispanic territories that we're going into, as we go into Asia, we will need a 115-pound division. There's no doubt about it. And it will happen someday. But we're not working on that right this second.
Do you mean it would be featured more on regional shows in that country? Because I've heard a lot of blowback from fans with that news thing, and we don't need 115. We don't need 115. Does it mean that those fights would be more on regional shows in those cards?
They decide what the fuck we need and don't need. Right? Yeah. No. If we put on more shows and go into these territories, and you have a lot of guys that are smaller guys and weigh that, we'll end up with a 115-pound division. It's like how many knuckleheads were talking smack about Demetrius Johnson and all these other, and look at the fight the other night on Fox. It was awesome. That fight was amazing. I don't listen to that bullshit. When people say stuff like that, it's just, you're looking for something to bitch about. You know what I mean? What do you care what these guys weigh, as long as you never know. You could have a guy come out of, at 115 that fights like Anderson and destroys people. And he's exciting and fun to watch. And it could be a division that's full of talent, yet this guy stands out, and you don't know what's going to happen. For people to say, oh, this shouldn't have, that shouldn't have. People said that about the 155-pounders at one time. Imagine if we never had a 155-pound division because 42 fucking fans thought we shouldn't. You know what I mean? It'd be a tragedy.
Obviously, we have the featherweight title on the line here, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on Ricardo Lamas after his, destruction of
Unbelievable.
Eric Koch.
Yeah, he looked awesome.
Yeah. So how does he fit in the mix now? Because obviously, we have Chad Mendes has been winning, and all. Now it's like a division that used to not have enough guys. All of a sudden, seems like has a lot of good guys.
I agree. So, who's going to fight next? I don't know, but we got some fun fights lined up in that division. Just because it is so stacked and there's so many talented guys.
If Aldo wins on Saturday and beats a former lightweight champion, does he have anything left to prove at 145?
That's up to him.
In your opinion?
The guy could stay at 145 for the rest of his life if he wants to. It's like the Anderson thing, I'd love to see Anderson at 205. I think if Anderson moved up to 205 pounds, it would be so fun. People would go crazy over that if he started to work his way up in the 205-pound division. Take, a number 1 contender. If he wins, he fights for the title, But what we're looking at is probably more of a super fight with him and John Jones or something eventually. But if Aldo wanted to stay there or move up to 55, which he said he does want to do, that would be cool.
The 10 fights deal with sign now, Anderson, or?
Huh?
The 10 fights deal with Anderson sign now?
No. Still working on it.
Do you think
we'll get it
Anderson
done.
would entertain fighting Rashad at 205?
Do I think what?
Anderson would entertain fighting Rashad at 205?
I don't know. I just don't. Let's say they fight at 205. Other than beating Anderson Silva, what does it really do for Rashad? You know what I mean? Rashad's at 205. If you're not going to fight Anderson Silva and win the title, you know, I don't know.
Dana, what were your thoughts on Nick Diaz at the George St. Pierre press conference? Were you impressed by the way he carried himself and responded towards the media?
Yeah, and the fans. He hung out and took pictures and, you know, signed autographs for the fans. You know, there's no doubt Nick Diaz is uncomfortable in that situation. He doesn't like it. He's uncomfortable in it, you know, and he stepped up and he was a pro and came and did what he had to do. You know, believe me, when you're in the middle of a camp or you got stuff going on and all the things that you have going on in your life, it's never fun to just pick up and take off. And these guys, you know, they answer the same questions over and over again. And some people, you know, hate it. Some people don't mind it. Some people love it. All the three that I just described, he's a complete different. He absolutely. It's not that even that he hates it. It's like he has a hard time doing it. You can just tell that he's really uncomfortable and it bothers him. He did what he was supposed to do. He acted like a pro. Showed up to everything on time. Did everything he was supposed to do. And you know.
Somebody wrote an article saying that this is possibly a new Nick Diaz. Do you feel that way?
No. What's going to happen is, as we get closer to the fight and he gets back into training, you know, he's been off for a year. And he made that very clear in the press conference. He kept saying, I've been off for a year. I've had a lot of time to kick back, time to think. Because the one thing that he used to say at the press conference is, these guys keep throwing me in fight after fight. Well, he's talking about Strikeforce because he had just come to the UFC. You know, and you get it. If you're Strikeforce, you need Nick Diaz to fight as much as possible. It's not like they had this overload of talent that were big draws. So you want to keep Nick Diaz active and keep him fighting. So he felt like he had been fighting all this time. Now he's had a year off, but once he gets back into training and starts doing the PR and all the bullshit again, we'll see Nick back again. I guarantee it.
Dana, going back to Ultimate Fighter for a second, you know, it's a couple of episodes in. This thing has a great new look to it now. It looks like prime time.
Thank you.
A lot of changes. Can you kind of take us behind the scenes, the planning of that new look? Was it quick? Was it a long process? How involved were you in your thoughts?
Yeah. So, you know, we've tried a lot of different things. The one thing that's been fun over at Fox is we've tried a lot of things. We tried live. Live didn't work too well. I still like the idea of live, but it didn't work too well. We went back to the old format. Didn't work out. The fights weren't great that season. The coaching was a little, you know. So this season we went back to the drawing board again, and it was actually Eric Shanks from Fox said, you know, he wanted to make some tweaks to the production, and that's what you see now. That was Eric's idea, and we loved it from the minute we started shooting to the minute we started editing, right up until it aired. We love this season. I came out and said this season's great, and it's just getting going. This is a great season of The Ultimate Fighter. We're proud of it, and yeah, that was Eric Shanks.
Was there any one element of it that surprised you as far as, like, say, you know, bringing in the families to watch the fight? Something that, you know, may have looked interesting.
That was us. We did that because as we started looking at the previous seasons, and a lot of complaints that people had were, when the fights to get into the house, you could hear a pin drop. And sometimes me and the coaches are talking. Sometimes we're not talking. We're watching the fights. So we thought that we'd try to bring the families in and see how it worked. And I loved it. I feel like right from the first episode, you learn more about the guys. You get to know. It's about knowing the fighters and the characters and their backstory and being invested in caring about the fights. So I think that worked really well. And it was fun. It was fun having all those people in there. You know, it's like being in a real fight.
A lot of people wondering.
Yep.
Asking me where are the fights going to go, since Fuel may change some things. FX is not going to have the fights. People are really curious about where the fights are going to go and how many more homes, you know, will you now reach with the.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Like I said, we've been working on this for a year. We knew all this stuff was happening, and like I've said a million times in the last couple of weeks, we're with guys, smart guys, aggressive guys who have a plan and are just as invested in the sport and in the brand as we are. So it's refreshing. It's incredible. I don't want to announce anything. I'm not going to say anything until these guys are ready to announce and what the plans are and what we're going to do. But fans are going to be happy. When we came bursting on the Fox out of nowhere, we were this close to doing a deal with another network, and we ended up doing the Fox deal. And the Fox deal came together like this. These guys scrambled and put this whole thing together and made last year work for us, because that came out of left field. It's not like these guys had some strategy for the last 2 years. UFC's rights are coming up, so here's what we're going to do. We'll go in there, we'll make a run at this UFC thing. We could put this here, this there. This thing happened out of nowhere. Came together in a minute, and they moved a lot of shit around to make this happen for us. And so over the last year, we've been figuring out how all the pieces are going to fit, where they're going to go, long term, what are we going to do, and how does this work? So that's what, it took a lot of time and a lot of hard work last year to get all this stuff together. And now, 1 year into the deal, everything is firing and everything is smooth and couldn't be better. The relationship couldn't be better. It's good stuff. But when they are ready to announce that stuff, I'll let them do it.
Dana, in earlier seasons of the Ultimate Fighter, after the season was finished, you used to have a lot of the fighters come back to fight in the UFC. I've noticed that it's kind of been dwindling. Can you tell me why that is? And
what was the question? I was spaced out for a minute.
Yeah, sorry. In the earlier seasons of the Ultimate Fighter, you'd see a lot of guys that didn't end up winning contracts or anything like that, but they would still fight in the UFC.
Got it. Yeah, we have a lot of fighters. We have a lot of guys under contract. And it's basically a math game. We have X amount of fighters, 3 fights a year. That's why earlier on, when the Ultimate Fighter first launched in the first however many seasons, we were just building. We were building the sport, building the brand, building everything. Now we're at a point where we're doing fights all over the world. We're on one of the biggest, platforms in the world, and Fox, and all the other things that we're doing. We're in Globo and friggin' Brazil, and the list goes on and on. And all these places and things we're doing stuff. The sport and the brand is more mature now than it was back then. So we could bring all the guys in. This season's so fucking good. And I was so happy with all the guys. I told them, every one of you guys are going to fight. You're going to get one more chance in the UFC. Every guy here is going to get another chance in the UFC. Joe Silva wants to fucking kill me, okay? It's impossible. It mathematically doesn't work. I said, mathematically make it work.
Do you have a fight for the Brazilian winner, Cesar Mutachi? Has he got a fight yet?
He does, I think. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give all those guys, we'll get a shot to get into the UFC again. Even if we have to add one more fight on each card, however we have to do it, we're going to get these guys a shot.
What is it about Overeem that is so intriguing to people? Why do you think he's reached such popularity? He hasn't fought that much in the UFC, but people see this.
Because he's a beast. I mean, when you look at the guy, he is an absolute friggin' beast. And you don't see guys that look like him every day in the fight business. He is an intriguing character, and I think people are trying to see if he can win. People want to see if this guy can win the title. I want to see if he can win the title.
And how big potentially, Overeem fighting for a title against, say, Velasquez after the title now, how big could that be for you guys?
I think it'll be huge. Yeah, I think it'll be really big. I think it'll be a big fight. I think that's one of our big fights this year, if he wins. Nick Diaz, George St. Pierre is a big fight for us this year. We make another one of these super fights this year. I think this card is a good card for this year.
If Overeem wins, how soon would you try to put something with him and Kane together? Like maybe over the summer?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We have it. We have it all mapped out on what we'll do. Just off the top of my head, I don't know right now.
If Diaz goes in and he dominates George, say, do you entertain the thought of Nick versus Anderson Silva now?
Yeah, well, he said he wants to do it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's one of those things. I always, this is a segue for me to tell you guys something else, but I always want to put on the fights that the fans want to see. I truly believe that that's my job. My job is to put on fights that people want to watch. And with that, we're announcing today, it's going to come out, there's a press release coming out later, that we're starting UFC rankings. We're going to have our own ranking system that rank UFC fighters. And Fight Metrics is a company that we've been in business with for several years now. They do all the stats on the fights and kicks, punch, takedowns, all this other stuff. So they're putting together a system for the rankings, and 90 members of the media have they already got invitations, or they're going to get them? Invitations go out today to 90 media members, and there will probably end up being more. But the media votes on the rankings, and I believe it's the Monday after this event. Polls will go out, they'll come back, and we'll have the first ever UFC rankings.
Is this an official partnership with Couture?
Yeah.
You've resisted rankings in the past, haven't you?
I did.
Why
well, here's the thing. Well, I said I segue into that. No matter what the rankings are, I'm going to put on the fights that the fans want to see. Just so you know.
So the rankings are just a discussion point more than anything.
Yeah, there will be rankings. And listen, if I see some rankings out there that are fucking insane, that make no sense. But again, I think you can put on fights with common sense, number one. Number two, at the end of the day, you got to put on fights that fans want to see. It has to be a fight that people want to see. Everybody asks the question, does it make sense to do Anderson Silva versus John Jones? In a perfect world, it really doesn't. If you look at the way rankings work and guys have their own weight classes and this and that and everything else, makes no sense whatsoever. But a lot of fucking people want to see it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's kind of how we do it. But a lot of people want to see that fight. Does George and Anderson make sense? No, but a lot of people want to see it.
But you will give consideration to the fight metric rankings if, say, a guy is number one. If
Absolutely.
Considered the number one contender,
Absolutely.
then you're going to have to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What was the impetus for deciding to do the rankings, and what would do within the UFC?
Well, we thought that as the sport continues to grow and gets bigger and bigger and reaches out more into the mainstream people understand numbers. Like Alabama plays, Notre Dame. This one plays that one. Number one, number two, number three, and we think it would just be a lot easier for casual fans who are just getting into the UFC to kind of understand the sport a little bit better. When you have a top 10 ranking, that's literally what we all go by. As long as we've been on this planet, the day you were born to today, every time you open a sports section, Boston Red Sox are in first place, Toronto's in last place. As you go through, there's always rankings in everything, in every sport. So it makes sense.
But obviously, these rankings are rankings within this company, which obviously is the dominant company in MMA. But there are other organizations that have.
This is just the UFC. Yeah, it's just the UFC rankings, voted on by the media. It's a media poll, like they do for USA Today. Right. Yeah, the
How
AP.
much clearance did you have to go through to get the camera in your operating room?
What's that?
To get the camera in the operating room, was there a lot of clearance on that?
Oh yeah, tons. Yeah, I had to call right up to the top to get it done.
But why did you want that filmed?
Why not? There was so much talk about it, and there was so much, whatever. And another cool thing, the Dr. House, who did the surgery. Yeah. Has dedicated his life to this disease.
That's why I was on TV.
Raising money and doing all this other stuff. So, he was big on awareness for this thing. Because usually, hospitals there's no way in hell, and then doctors too, because of malpractice and all the other things, but we got it done.
How's your health now?
The recovery process for this thing is a lot longer and tougher than I thought it was going to be. And, I just jump into everything. I'm fucking doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it, whatever. I was going to do the most extreme surgery they had, but he's like, you're not doing it. We're not doing that to you. You're too young. And, I did it, and now I got to deal with it, man. It's been tougher than I thought it was going to be. But
besides the healing process, have you noticed any improvement at all?
No, it's actually worse because, that surgery, there's so much trauma. During that, they drilled into my skull. They're drilling, and on the video blog it shows them drilling. We're gonna bore you with the entire fucking surgery. 25 minutes they drill for 25 minutes into the skull. So just that damage, the damage that was done to the ear, the skin. Your skin is like this thick, and they sew it back together from the inside out. I bumped into Dave Terrell at the Fox show. He had the same surgery, and he was telling me that 3 months after the surgery, he started training again, and he would tape his ear, up with tape, drop it around his head, and he was training one day, and it went pop, pop, pop. and he was in a lot of pain. All the stitches ripped open from the inside, but didn't open on the outside. So all that flesh in there broke apart after 3 months of healing. You don't have to worry about me, I won't be training that hard. But the point is, this thing takes a long time to really heal and recover from. So who knows, and everybody has a different story. Took this guy 2 months. Basically, I have this feeling now like I'm underwater. So I can't hear hardly anything. So it's hard, that's why sometimes I'll tilt this ear to you. What'd you say? It's tough to hear, it's been a pain in the ass, but I gotta deal with it.
How are ticket sales and numbers trending for UFC 157 with Ronda Rousey's
For 157?
First women's fight headline.
I had an interview the other day with Dave Meltzer. I had that bone to pick with Meltzer. We talked the other day. I said, what was up with that goofy story you wrote that made no sense? Basically saying Ronda Rousey is headlining the show and ticket sales aren't off the charts or whatever, yet they sold more tickets than the last time they were here at this time. It makes no sense. I don't understand what the story was. There was never a story there about there being a problem with ticket sales in Southern California with Ronda Rousey headlining the card. And he wrote the story like 2 fights ago. We haven't even started promoting that fight yet. We have not spent a dime or done anything to promote Ronda Rousey's fight. And at that time when he wrote the story, there was like $750,000 in ticket sales, right?
So things are working the way you expected, or are things ramping up well?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's no promotion yet, so.
Yeah. This stuff drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, we don't see the numbers.
I hate to go here. I hate to go here, but you guys do this to me, man. You do. It's like Dave Meltzer writes that story, right?
Right.
The fight's in Southern California. $750,000 in ticket sales. We still got 4 or 5 fights before that fight. Have not started promoting that fight yet. 750. Now Bellator comes out, right, and they do their first show. Everybody's going, pasting Spike's press release all over the fucking place. It was a home run. This fucking thing was awesome. We did this. They sold 2,400 fucking tickets in Southern California. If that's a fucking home run, holy shit. What did I hit? At 750,000. They sold 2,400 tickets. And I'm reading around on what a home run that event was. Are you fucking shitting me?
How does that compare to other UFC events in Southern California, though? Is that normal, or is that we don't see the numbers as you trend along like that? You know, you don't usually give us numbers. So
well, Dave Meltzer wrote it himself in his oddball story that he wrote.
Yeah, but I don't
$750,000 in ticket sales, which is more than they sold at this point in time last time they were here.
Right.
I can tell you this, we haven't even started promoting the Ronda Rousey fight yet, right? And when we do, Ronda Rousey, people can say whatever they want about her, and people can say she shouldn't be headlining or whatever. I don't give a shit if you're Royce Gracie, if you're Dan Henderson and Machida, Tito, Chuck, go through the list, the laundry list of guys who have been stars in this company. Right. Nobody in the history of this company will have more new media following them than Ronda Rousey will. Already, the story she's done. Time magazine, she's one of the 30 for 30 Forbes athletes, in there with LeBron James and all these other guys. Real Sports on HBO. Somebody else something out?
No, he said HBO.
Oh yeah, Real Sports on HBO. And the list goes, the LA Times is following her for a month and doing a front page story on her. The list goes on and on and on of media that have never ever covered this event or never giving us the coverage they're giving us for Ronda Rousey in the history of the sport. Not just in the 13 years we've been here, all the way back to the old days.
Dana, in some ways, does that bother you that having to get female athletes in events considering that kind of response?
If you'd have told me a year ago that a female athlete would get that kind of coverage, I'd have said, you're out of your mind. And if they did, it would be a freak show story. And it's far from a freak show. Tito Ortiz came out the other day and said, what has Ronda Rousey hasn't even proven herself yet. She hasn't even proven herself. She's getting all this. What the fuck? Tito was a junior college wrestler, okay? She's an Olympic athlete who fucking medaled at the Olympics. Okay? Ronda Rousey's first 9 fights have gone 9 minutes and 28 seconds. Tito Ortiz's first 9 fights went 40 minutes and 45 seconds. What the fuck are you talking about, Tito? She blows you out of the water when it comes to accomplishing things at the same point in your age and career. She smokes you, she buries you, she's in another universe. I get it, he's a manager now and he's got to get out and say some goofy shit. But at least, look, dude, come on. Do your homework, Tito.
David, can you hear about this, I guess, small controversy that Rita's Facebook friends with the one judge that scored a 30-27 for him? This kind of brings up the replacement referee New Orleans Saints story that came out when one ref was a Saints fan and he was going to have the game. A lot of people don't think Rita won the fight, so they're starting to think.
That's interesting.
How do you feel about that?
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Is that, should judges, referees not be friends on social media?
Let me tell you, no. Judges and referees shouldn't be friends with anybody in this business. Anybody, including you guys. When you're a judge or a referee, you live on your own fucking island, man. It's just, it's part of the deal. You guys have heard me talk about Herb Dean, right? When I see Herb Dean I say, "What are you doing, Herb? I don't want to talk to Herb. You're not gonna see me out at dinner with Herb. You're not going to see me. I stay away from all the judges and referees. I don't talk to any of them. I don't talk to them. I say hi to them. You know, I say hi. But no fighters, no promoters, no media.
Do you think they should be on Twitter? Because Herb's on Twitter. His John's on Twitter.
I don't think there's a big deal with them being on Twitter. And listen, who gives a fuck what I think? This has nothing to do with me. This is the Athletic Commission's deal. But I don't think there's a problem with being on Twitter. And, you know, people are fans of referees too. You know, people do like the refs and whatever it is. When you're a fight fan, all that stuff is fun to follow a guy and what he might be doing. But I wouldn't be talking about fights or specific fighters, and I wouldn't be following. You know, it's probably not a big deal to follow a bunch of fighters either, just to see what they're doing.
Friends.
Yeah.
That's a whole different world. Right?
Where's Josh Rosenthal?
I don't know though. Facebook. What does Facebook friends mean?
Well, you have to. Are you being serious?
I'm dead serious.
Well, yeah, you have to. You know, I have to
like you. I say, yeah, I know how it works. But what does it really mean?
Oh, I mean, if the guy has, you know, 500 friends, one of them's played Rita and he's judging his fight, who knows what they're talking about behind it? Who knows how far back that relationship dates?
Yeah.
And now he's judging his fight. I mean, it's the same reason why Ricardo Almeida can't judge a Frankie Edgar fight, obviously on a different level, but who knows? I'm not saying this case, but it does lead to questions when there's a
The good point that the Facebook and all this other shit, I don't know. Being on social media, whatever, the good point that you really make here is fight camps, if you're a manager, trainer, and fighter, you have rights when it comes to the Athletic Commission. And they do post this stuff before. Like when everybody asked me about Mazzagatti last week. Mazzagatti is headlining this show, okay? Gives a shit what I think. The fighters have to, you know, if you have an opinion and you believe, hey, this guy's friends on Facebook with him, how's that going to work for me? These guys have to do their homework and look into stuff like that. You know what I mean? You have to. We're regulated by the government. The government comes in and does this stuff and puts it in place. But you, as a fighter and as a camp, have rights to come in and say, hey, what the hell is this? This is questionable, and I want to make sure that I get a fair shake. And if that is the case, that this guy does have a relationship far back, he's gonna do the right thing. If he even stays on, that they might yank him and put somebody else on. So that's really the point here to be made, is that the fighters and the camps need to pay attention to that kind of stuff.
But not all of them, because a lot of the referees say they only find out the night of what they're doing, so it's not always made 100% public. You know, like an undercard fight like Guida Hioki is sometimes not made, you know, unless you make
So get into it. Listen, you guys fucking terrorize the Athletic Commissions, calling them every day, asking them for this number, that number, did this guy test for this, what happened over here, that's what these fighter camps could do, the same thing. You know, they've got to start getting more professional and getting into this. In boxing, there were fucking wars over who was going to referee a fight and stuff. People would come out and, you know, it was a big deal. Camps would throw fits sometimes if they thought they weren't getting the right guy. And where are the judges from? Well, okay, this is an international fight. We got one guy from England, we got one guy from over here, and we got one guy from the United States. You know, a Las Vegas guy, local Las Vegas guy they do. You know, guys that were, you know, used to doing big fights. These camps need to be more professional and really start looking into that stuff more. Because it does make a decision. I don't give a shit what anybody says. If Mazzagatti isn't the fucking ref, John Jones is undefeated right now. And there's other things too with Mazzagatti.
What about, it seems to be coming out more and more, I don't know if guys are following the trend or whatnot, but it seems like a lot of sponsors, or some sponsors aren't paying the fighters. And guys are taking to Twitter and saying, hey, I'm still waiting. There's one famous one, company that hasn't paid for months, a group of guys like Patrick Cote and others.
My guys?
Yeah. So how do you...
Who are the sponsors? Sponsors they got and that we allowed?
Kaiwa hasn't paid him since UFC 148.
What's Kaiwa?
I don't think Stefan Struve got paid.
Kaiwa is it's just some brand that kind of popped up.
So we approved it and let them do it?
And now they don't pay.
They haven't
Well,
paid.
how can they get around that?
It has nothing to do with me.
No. I'm saying, what can the fighter do? Is it just they got screwed?
Yeah. I mean, if you make a deal with somebody and they don't pay you, I mean, he's got to take them to court or do something like that.
Did they tell you this in confidence? The fighters try to...
I had no idea until you just told me that. I didn't even know. When you were saying guys weren't getting paid by the sponsors, I'm like, in my show?
Yeah.
Well, not by sponsors that are affiliated with us, they're not.
Meaning, said he didn't get paid for one of the sponsors from 154. He said on Twitter.
Who was it?
He wouldn't say right now. I don't know why he doesn't want to say.
Well, if it's one of our major sponsors that are with us, you know.
No, his own sponsor.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if fighters have come to you guys and said, can you help me? You know, maybe, you know.
What the hell am I going to do?
I don't know.
Hey, Kaiwa, pay this guy his money.
Personally, but at UFC, I mean, they're not getting paid. They're getting screwed. So what do? They take to Twitter and they wait for
Listen,
fans?
if Metro PCS, Bud Light, Harley Davidson, and the list goes on and on, don't pay the guys when they're supposed to pay a guy, I'll pick up the phone and say, are you kidding me?
It's usually the rinky-dink, you know, fly-by-night company, so there's nothing they can do.
That's the problem with doing these deals with rinky-dink fly-by-night companies. It's tough. You never know if you're going to go out and get your money up front. Pay me now. I'm going to fight. I got 3 fights. I'm in the UFC. I'm going to fight and I'm going to wear your stuff. Pay me some money.
Get back to the ref thing. Where's Josh Rosenthal been?
I don't know. Yeah. I didn't even realize
Didn't know
that.
if he was still in the mix or not.
Yeah. Again, not decisions that I make, you know. I bitch a lot, but I don't make any decisions.
Yeah, can you give us your Super Bowl pick?
My Super Bowl pick, I think San Francisco's going to win, but I'd love to see Ray win one before he retires. Another one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be good to go out with a Super Bowl.
Okay, thanks.
Did you guys see his story on ESPN that they did? About his dad and everything? Great story. You didn't see it? Watch it. Fox will kill me for that. So, you done with me? Yeah? Thank you guys.
Guys, we have lunch downstairs in the media room, so if you'd like to join us, we'll take the sandwiches out. That's for you, Chris. It's good.